In this episode, we're going to be talking about tips for starting your podcast on a budget, revamping an existing podcast for relaunch, promoting like a pro, and building a podcast that not only succeeds, but makes the entire process enjoyable. Stay tuned. This is the Podcast in the Rough. Tune in every Friday for new adventurous episodes. Welcome back to the Podcast in the Rough. This is episode 133. I'm your host, Zebulon Thomas, and I put this episode together for anyone who needs to dive a little deeper into the art of podcasting, especially if you're gearing up for a fresh start in the new year. This episode is all about creating, building, and launching or relaunching a podcast. All right, let's kick things off with the essentials. If you're starting on a budget, this part is for you. Equip yourself with tools like Canva, Pixlr, and WordPress to design your logo, cover art, and website without breaking the bank. If things are truly scarce, I want you to get resourceful. Take out a piece of paper and draw your logo and cover art. Then take a photo of it with your phone and use that. Move forward. Don't let anything hold you back. Creating a logo and cover art that stands out is crucial for your podcasting success. Keep it clear, keep it simple, and make sure it reflects your brand. Consistency is key on all platforms, so make sure your art stands out on all social media, directories, and your website. Create something that pops. Don't try to recreate what someone else has done. What message are you trying to send? What visuals do you want to represent you and your brand? And then deliver on that. And remember, high-quality images leave lasting impressions. So you're going to want to spend a little bit more time on the shading of that pencil art you're going to be working on. Now let's move on to recording. Audacity and GarageBand are budget-friendly options, and I've talked about this in previous episodes, but they really do deliver that crystal clear sound, but don't get stuck there. Don't forget about your phone. It can get the job done, especially if you use it correctly, and I'm going to show you how. Now, when it comes to cleaning up audio, if you got the equipment but you want to level up your audio game, then this segment is for you. Learn the art of audio cleanup using tools like Audacity or Descript. However, I just want to let you know that there will be a learning curve for many of you when you use software like Audacity or Descript. Audacity is going to be a little bit more easier for you to use, but if you're a seasoned veteran and you're eager to learn new things, there's plenty of other resources to mix and master audio, and I want to dive into that a little bit right now. Attention, I'm going to go a little off script here if you're following along with the podcast show notes, so you get a little something that you can't get on the blog. By the way, I am posting show notes up. I've been sharing this a lot. You can get the show notes by going to thepodcastinrough.com and clicking on the blog. Okay, moving forward. So before I talk about cleaning up audio using different resources and tools, let's talk about getting it right in the mic. If you're starting out with a cell phone, and I mentioned this just a few seconds ago, the first thing you want to do to make it easier is if you have a car or you know someone with a car, sit inside of a car and record your podcast with your phone. It's going to be the best sound booth. If you roll up the windows and you don't have the car running, you have no music playing, it's just you in this car. Obviously, be careful. Don't lock yourself in a car on a hot day. Got to say that because you never know. But using a car as sound booth is going to give you really good sound on your phone. And if you don't have a car to get into, getting inside a closet somewhere with clothes around you or stacking a bunch of pillows around you or putting a bunch of blankets up on the walls in your room, anything that will dampen the room reverb and the audio bounce so it doesn't sound too much like a room will help you. The simplest way, you can make like a little square out of pillows, set the phone in the middle, stick your head in there, and talk to it. You're going to look funny. You're going to look weird. Trust me, I've done it. In fact, I've actually done this on a high-end production at a last-minute situation. We had to get something done. I was being paid top dollar to do something, and this simple task of a voiceover happened. And I said I could do that, and we didn't have the mics, and we were on the go. And so here I am in a hotel room, stacking up pillows, and we're having a great time. Everyone's laughing at me. I'm sticking my head in this little square I built was on this couch. And I delivered one heck of a voiceover that went on to be used for commercial marketing and made hundreds of thousands of dollars for this product and service. Just goes to show that you just got to be resourceful. Make it happen. Make it work. So regardless of what you're getting paid or what you're trying to do, you can still achieve, or what you're using, you can still achieve high quality audio if you do it right. Prep for it. The other thing is don't speak directly on the phone, like to where your lips are touching it, and don't speak too far from it. You want to have a nice little sweet spot. I recommend like a fist width apart, and talk to it at a bit of an angle so you're not getting a lot of plosives in your phone's microphone. So for everyone who has limited resources and you just have a cell phone, apply that tip right away and you'll be good to go. Now, for those of you who have mixers and all of that exciting stuff, let's start with your mixer. Research your mixer a little bit. Heck, get inside the podcast community mastermind group that I have that you can access absolutely free. And I'll plug that at the end of this episode. Get inside the group and ask me these questions. And I can deliver that answer to you. And I can help you troubleshoot anything that you have, whatever equipment you're using. But you first and foremost want to get the audio right from the start, from the mic to the mixer. And when you get that set up and the balance is right, from there, it saves you a lot of trouble with the mixing and mastering of your audio to deliver that clear sound. And what I've been noticing when I'm watching other people's podcasts, even professionals, I'm listening to it, and a lot of them are pulling it off right now by just getting it right with the microphone and the mixer. And they're not adding any extra editing afterwards. They're not enhancing or applying EQs or stripping it of background noise or anything like that. They've mastered it already with the equipment that they have. And that's a good thing to do. Me personally, though, on a professional level, I treat it as if I'm mixing and mastering an audio recording that's going to go on a record, or it's going to go on to be something that's legendary. So every episode I lead with quality, and I put that vision in my mind that I'm doing something that's amazing. It's not just another episode to me. To me, this is the quality I want. What I do is I get it right from the microphone to the mixing board. And then from there, I take it into audio programs and I mix and master it and apply EQs and really do my due diligence on that. What does that look like for you if you have this equipment? Well, once you get it right with the microphone and the mixer, then you take that audio and you throw it inside, maybe it's Final Cut Pro X, maybe it's Adobe Premiere Pro, maybe it's Audacity, maybe it's GarageBand, maybe it's anything else that deals with audio or video. There's a lot of exciting programs that I use as well to achieve my quality mix. And I share that inside of my premium content and inside my podcast community mastermind group. And you can get access to my EQ, and I'll plug that later in this episode so you know how to get access to this EQ that'll show you how to mix and master your audio and make it sound amazing. I love that. I always say that. It's exciting. Again, I wanted to share that with you because this is very, very important. If you get it down, you're going to save yourself a lot of time and money. All right, I'm going to get back on the script I prepared for you today because I wanted to stay focused. Promoting your podcast. Okay, it's time to promote your podcast. And I want to give you some strategies to help you launch your podcast successfully leading up and during the new year. From social media blitzers to holiday-themed content, apply this to make your podcast shine. Promoting during December is a great month to get leverage by leaning into the festive spirit with holiday-themed content, collaborations, and countdown teasers. Engage your audience with giveaways and utilize the power of email campaigns to cut through the clutter and build your podcast buzz. Now, if you haven't listened to last week's episode, go back and check that one out because I dive a little bit deeper into the spirit of the holidays and how to grow your podcast. Some exciting things to do there. So I wanted to touch base on that because many of you are launching or relaunching your podcast between now and the new year, and you're starting a new year. This is the best time to do it. Relaunching a podcast. If you're thinking about giving your existing podcast a facelift and doing a relaunch, then we have some work to get done. From updating branding to planning special episodes, I know what it takes for a successful relaunch. Pre-launch prep is key. Reflect on what worked, define your purpose, and update that branding. Engage your audience, collaborate with others, and use social media to build anticipation. It's not just about the changes, it's about communicating those changes effectively. You don't want to mislead your audience, especially if you've built an audience on one topic or subject and you're switching the theme, the mood, and everything. You're going to shock them. They're going to run away from you. So you want to make sure that you're communicating what you're doing and build that buzz of excitement of how it's going to be even better to allow many of them to lean into it and be open for the change. Now, building your podcast for success. Time for the long game. From defining your brand to strategic monetization, over the years, I have developed a roadmap for sustained growth and audience engagement. I'm going to share with you a little bit of that right now. First off, consistency is key. Establish a content schedule right off the bat. Prioritize quality over quantity and engage with your audience. I can't say that enough. Explore strategic monetization opportunities. Diversify content formats and adapt to trends. Make sure that you're regularly assessing your analytics and collaborate with others to amplify your reach. Podcasting is a long-term play with continued growth and tons of opportunity that will help you develop your message and goals. You'll have to get good at pivoting because you will consistently be seeking new audiences to tap into that add value to your community. However, unlike pivoting in business, this is fun and not stressful. It becomes a game. Now let's talk about making your podcast fun. Podcasting should be a blast, and here are some creative ideas to inject joy into your podcast journey. Themed episodes, surprise guests, and behind-the-scenes fun will keep your podcast exciting. Involve your audience in interactive segments and surprise them with unexpected guests. I'm not sure who you're going to find, but I'm sure there's plenty of interesting people around you or people that you want to get close to that you can invite into your podcast episodes and make things exciting. And I think that part of the journey is going to light you up even more than anything else. Just really going for it and not knowing if you're going to get that opportunity, but going for it anyways, like reaching out saying, hey, I want to ask this person I look up to or someone that, people have requested me to have on, if they would be a guest on my show. Never in a million years did I think they're going to be able to do this, but let's try it. And they do it. 9 times out of 10, they're going to say yes, especially if you have all your cards in place. They're going to accept your offer. Don't forget to share behind the scenes moments and spice things up with games and challenges. Authenticity is the key to injecting joy into your podcast. People tend to favor a good host over great content. I always say be transparent, share your journey along the way, and fail forward to build that connection with your listeners. If you go back and listen to how I started my podcast, I was telling you every step of the way what I was doing. And if you listen enough through my episodes, you actually see where my success took off. And I started working with individuals and my mentors. And next thing I know, I had to get creative with what I shared because I was under NDAs and I had contracts and there was a lot of limitations that I wasn't prepared for. Let's talk about creating an experience for your listeners. Creating an experience for your listeners is the name of the game. Dive into creative ideas and add massive value in every episode, from themed episodes to interactive segments, as mentioned before. Introduce themed episodes, interactive segments, and surprise guests to captivate your audience. I want to kind of go back to the challenges. When you incorporate challenges, it really brings a personal touch to your podcast. It allows people to be more involved. And remember, creating lasting experiences involve delivering meaningful content and engaging in your audience consistently. That's number one. So use the resources you have and do whatever you need to do to keep the conversation going. Give attention where attention is needed and encourage your engagement by doing it first. Lead by example. All right, let's talk about episode length. Episode length matters. It's not just about how long or short you can hold a conversation. So here are some recommendations on the ideal duration for your episodes and tips on finding that sweet spot for your audience. Short or long episodes? That is the question. Craft engaging short episodes with a strong hook, clear purpose, and actionable takeaways. Use attention-grabbing sound effects and experiment with episode structures to keep it fresh. For longer episodes, plan thoroughly, maintain a strong narrative flow, and involve your audience. Remember, the key is to make every minute count. So now that we've stripped away about 90% of the challenges that many of you find yourself overthinking about, I want you to build your own roadmap for success. What does that look like? I want you to start by applying this simple bit of advice. Don't overcomplicate your next move. And take time to prime yourself for the adventure. Get excited about it. And with that, I hope you enjoyed these strategies and suggestions for launching or relaunching your podcast in the new year. If you love what you heard on this episode, don't forget to subscribe and leave a rating and review on Apple Podcasts or our website at thepodcastintherough.com. And guess what? I'm beyond excited to share that I'm teaching others just like you how to podcast from start to success in my private podcast community mastermind group. So if you're new to this podcast, I have an incredible group that I want you to get involved in. And if you're not new to this podcast and you're not in the group yet, the question is, why not? Get inside the group and start your own podcast. It's amazing. I'm going to show you the way. It's going to be fun. Access this right now by going to thepodcastintherough.com/learn. So do it right now. Grab yourself free access for a limited time. Thank you for tuning in to this episode of The Podcast on Rough. Until next time, keep podcasting, keep creating, and become that diamond in the rough. And I mean that. Go have one heck of a weekend. Enjoy your Friday. Take care. is the podcast in the rough.